Welcome to the Fusion Power Podcast. My name is Jared Gillespie. I'm your host. I am the CSO here at Fusion Power, where we talk all things solar. I want to welcome to the program today my guest, Caden Henderson. Welcome, buddy. We're going to introduce you here in just a minute. But as a preface here, I want to just let everybody know. So I'm entering my 21st year here in the door-to-door direct sales space. I've been very blessed to be in an industry where there's just no caps on my income and earning potential. And I absolutely love the ability to be 100% responsible for my own outcomes. It's high risk, which I love, but it's also high reward. And that said, when you have a high risk, high reward situation, you also have high emotions and low emotions when things don't go well, when they go south. And so one of the major contributors to salespeople and their success, and probably the greatest test of their resiliency, is how do they deal with cancellations? I'm going to preface everything that we talk about today with you have to accept that there's going to be cancellations if you're in sales. That's just the way that it works. And if you don't have cancellations, then you're probably not trying hard enough. On the other side of the coin, though, if your cancellations are over 25, 30%, you're probably going too fast, or you're bulldozing people, or you're skipping steps, or whatever the case may be. And there's a lot that we can do to fix that. So we're going to talk about cancellations and some of the key ways to reduce those cancellations to increase pull-through and increase our income as salespeople, particularly here in the solar industry. And so I want to bring in Kaden here. I'm going to introduce Kaden. You've been doing sales for how long now?
Almost 7 years.
You've been doing sales, and prior to solar, you were doing financial planning, right?
Yeah, working with school teachers on their retirement. Is what I've been doing still do a little bit of it, but the last 5-6 years, just helping school teachers plan their retirement.
Nice. And then you've been in solar for just under a year now, right? Not even a full year?
Actually, almost, so about 2.5 years.
You did NEM3 this year, but you had done solar prior to that as well.
Last year.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Perfect. You joined Fusion back in August of this year. We're super happy to have you on the team. You've done just a bang-up job, and I'm really excited to kind of talk about what you've accomplished and the leadership that you're already providing our organization as a new rep to Fusion Power. Kind of a softball question as we get going. What is it that you like about sales? You've been doing it for 7 years now. What is it that makes you love doing sales?
Yeah, you said a lot of it. I love the ability to be your own boss. I love the ability to control your own schedule. I also love the no cap, so you're really going to earn as good as what you put out there. And comes down to work ethic, so however hard you're willing to work, you can go out and earn whatever you want. You don't have somebody constantly telling you what to do and how to do it, and then cashing just a W-2 paycheck every 2 weeks. There's slow months, there's slow weeks, but then obviously everything in between makes up for the difference. I also just love sales because I know what my why is behind what I'm doing, and so as long as you know that, then sales is right up your alley, because as long as you have something driving you behind all the ins and outs of every day, it makes it a lot easier.
At the end, I'm going to ask you what your why is, if you're willing to share it with us.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's the hardest thing about being a salesperson?
The hardest thing about being a salesperson is definitely having to deal with a million different personalities of people, going in and out of people's homes every day, and certain circumstances, certain situations, and you see every type of personality you could possibly see from a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. And there's many times throughout the week that I want to, get in the car and scream or go hit my head against a wall. But that's probably the hardest thing and the thing that annoys me the most. But at the end of the day, again, you've got to have the best intentions and realize what you're trying to help homeowners accomplish. And that's what makes it a little bit easier. But, yeah, dealing with people would probably be the hardest thing for me.
Ain't that the truth? But that's what also makes it so fun. It's incredible, the characters that you meet doing this job.
You do meet. It's similar to
a lot of stories over the years.
Yep.
Well, let's get into talk about cancellations. That's the topic today, and how to reduce those. Off the top, why is it that people cancel? There's a lot of reasons, but what are some of the main reasons that you see as the reason that people back out of moving forward, whether it be with solar or anything else for that matter?
I'd say first and foremost, just taking a little bit of accountability and saying, for me, if I have a cancellation, I first go look in the mirror and think what could I have done differently? Where could I have built more value? Where could I have built more pain? Where could I have built more emotion? Because if the emotional pain is there, if the common sense enough that you've made for homeowners going the solar route is there, then there really shouldn't be any reason to cancel the project or move forward with it. But for me, at least, that's as far as cancellations go. I think people cancel from they're not bought in enough, so we didn't create enough value. Emotionally, they're not attached to the idea of energy independence.
So let's talk about value really quick, right? Because it's perceived value. We know how great it is. We've got customers that are super happy. Why is it that a customer doesn't see value? And you kind of hit it on a second ago, but what are we not doing to make a customer not see the value in our product?
Again, for me, not asking the right questions. So if I'm asking the right questions and allowing people to sell themselves, where I can come in and validate what they're saying or validate their answers, not asking the right questions.
And the cool thing about asking questions is customers basically show you their cards. They show you what they value and what's important to them, right? And when we talk about building value is essentially just problem solving for somebody, right? You're showing them a problem that they have or a problem that they're going to have, and the solution that's going to solve that for them presently or that's going to solve that for them in the future. And with solar, we know all the problems there. Your bills are too high, your bills are going up, you're on a time of use plan where you have higher rates during one point of the day that makes you and forces you live a certain kind of a lifestyle that you may not like. And Fusion comes in and it solves and it's an incredible process. If you're not creating the pain that you talked about, then the solution really doesn't matter. Right. And so they don't see that value and they end up canceling later. Another big reason that people end up canceling is buyer's remorse. How do you define buyer's remorse?
Getting competitive with either the sales rep or buyer's remorse, just for whatever reason in their mind, they think that it's a bad thing. It's easy for us sales rep to be biased towards obviously solar because we understand. We're going to be saving the homeowner money. Obviously, it's energy independence. We're going to get them away from their utility company. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you portray that to a homeowner, they still don't see it a lot of times. And so buyer's remorse to me is just for whatever reason in their head, they're fixated on it's just not a good move to make.
Well, and typically they're going to come up with excuses, right? They're going to come up with reasons why it doesn't make sense anymore. And that can be because they were a little confused at the point of sale, right? And solar, while we need to do our best to learn how to make it an easy process, when you're talking about rate plans and you're talking about buybacks and all this stuff, it can be a little bit confusing, overwhelming, and that can sometimes cause people to second guess their decision, be like, I don't think I should be dealing with this. And so we've got to really make sure that we're polished in the way that we present that. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that that a customer understands how this is going to benefit them, and it needs to be so crystal clear as to why this is a good move moving forward that when they do have these doubts creep in, they can always go back to that base point.
100% agree. I'd say another huge reason why people cancel is just lack of understanding. And if there's a lack of understanding on my part, then for me, I've just overcomplicated the process. I've overcomplicated the presentation. So that comes back to the presentation just staying as simple and as easy and as seamless as you possibly can.
And it's easy to get overcomplicated sometimes because as we're trying to improve ourselves, we hear an awesome zinger that another rep says like, oh, I got to incorporate that. Or we're at a correlation meeting and we hear Jason talking about some cool aspect of a certain module or something like that. And we feel like now we need to start incorporating that into the presentation. And before long, we've gotten way too long, way too complicated. And it's just like you said, just go back to the basic, just keep it simple. You're spending this much for energy. We can help you only spend this much and you save the difference, right?
Yeah, just follow the roadmap because anybody that's done it for a while knows you get those certain personalities as well, right? So you're in the home with some middle-aged tough guy, that feels like he has all the answers. Again, he could take you in any way you want to take you and try to outsmart you and try to think that they know more than you about what you're talking to them about. But at the end of the day, just keeping it simple.
what about competition? We do lose a lot of jobs to competitors. This is a competitive marketplace. A lot of guys are out there that are selling solar. How do we kind of preempt that? How do we make sure that our jobs are not getting undercut? I mean, customers are going to shop if they're going to shop. But what are some things that you do in your presentation to try and help it so that they don't look around, or so that when the next guy that knocks on the door, they kind of turn them away? What have you found effective there?
One, get personal with homeowners. I always spend 10, 15 minutes with just unrelated solar conversation. Getting personal with them about their life, about where they're from, what they do for work, kids, grandkids, things like that. Because at the end of the day, obviously, they're buying you as well. And so if you present yourself well, you show them intentionally that you care about them first and foremost before the product comes second. At the end of the day, somebody comes by the door, somebody else comes by, chances are most reps don't take the extra 10, 15, 20 minutes just to show that they care. So
Sure.
Number one, just get personal with them. Invite them into your life a little bit, show them some pictures of your family, your wife, girlfriend, kids, whatever, where you're from, how long you've been doing this, things like that help build trust in you. Because at the end of the day, they're buying you.
People buy from people that they like.
Yeah.
The people that they trust. That's awesome.
Second of all, I just build Fusion Power up. From start to finish, in my experience with solar, Fusion Power has as good of a operations process that I've worked with, that I've dealt with, from start to finish, from when I'm in the home, from things submitted to moving the job through the process. I really just build up Fusion Power. Tell them to go look us up online, look at our ratings, we're very reputable throughout Gilbert, Mesa, Chandler, all this area out here. So just building Fusion up and giving Fusion credit so that they can buy in and they can believe, hey, yeah, I'm going solar, and I'm going solar with one of the better companies here
Awesome.
in the state.
So let's talk about the cost of a cancellation, right? There's a financial cost and there's a psychological cost. Can you comment on both of those?
Psychologically is more frustrating for me than financially, because you're always going to have the opportunity to go out and get another deal. But from a financial standpoint, yes, it's costly.
With commissions being what they are in solar, it's like, if you sell 10 jobs and 4 or 5 of them cancel, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot.
That you're like, man, what if I had just done this or just done that? How much more income would I have had here? And when you have those kind of thoughts, well, that affects you psychologically, because now you start getting desperate, or you start changing the way that you do things, and it can really mess with a salesperson's mind. And I think it's also important for salespeople to understand that, not only is it costly to them as a salesperson, it's also very costly to the installer. Mm-hmm. When you figure the cost going into solar, you set up a job, we go do a site survey. So we're paying for that guy's time, gas, car, everything, right? He comes back, now we do a design. So now we're paying for the designer's time and all the, the software to get the design. And then it goes to permit. Well, permits are anywhere between $300 to $2,000 if you're up in Mirage. Jeez, unbelievable.
First one
So,
I did over there.
A customer cancels after that point. It's like, those are unrecoverable costs to the installer. And if that happens over and over and over again, they're losing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars each year. You can't, as a salesperson, you're relying on the financial health of your installer to make sure that you get paid, that they're healthy. And so, reps out there, if you're throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and just hoping that it sticks, you're hurting the installer, and that can end up hurting you on the back end as well. So something to kind of keep in mind there. But many of the issues that we talked about here, whether it be overcoming competition or buyer's remorse or fear or any of those things, a lot of that can be solved by just sitting down with an experienced rep and watching them do it. Sometimes we need to just see somebody else model the way to do that. And again, not only, even if we do that, though, we're still going to have those customers that still want to back out. So I guess ultimately, there's a mechanism that I want to talk to you about today that you've been doing a really good job with to solidify your customers. How how do you, if I'm prompting you for this obviously, but how do you ensure that your customers stay bought in? I'll give you a hint. It starts with R.
Well, yeah, I know we're going to talk about that a little bit, but
But if
yeah,
you have something else to say, go
the
ahead. Go ahead
easy
on
answer
that.
is the rewards. They become my best friend. But I learned this a long time ago. Just looking at your homeowners or looking at your customers as your friends that you're trying to help make a common sense decision with, rather than a number or rather than a commission. For me, that's what I knock on the door, and I, from start to finish, I don't care if I'm in the home for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. If we're not laughing and smiling on the way out, then I don't feel as good about that job getting installed
Yeah.
as I do if we're laughing and smiling on the way out. So just look at your homeowners and your customers as somebody you're trying to help out and have their best interest in mind, rather than just a number or commission.
I love it. It's just sincerity and being authentic, right? Really caring about that person. I think it's huge. And it goes along with our company core value of family first. We're
Right.
trying to make that customer have the best experience and give them the best deal that they can get. I think you're right on.
And that answer goes right along with rewards anyway. Now that I think about it, because we're just bringing more value to homeowners and improving the quality of their home.
Yep.
With all of these adders.
So let's talk about rewards. So a reward product we define as something outside of the solar scope, right? Things that we can give customers that not only add extra value, but also allow them to have that value given to them up front, so that while they have to wait, because we all know that, even if we have a great relationship with them, time can kill all deals. Circumstances come up, people can change their minds. But if we can give them value right away or soon in the process, customers are much more likely to stick around. Here's a couple cool stats for you guys to chew on a little bit, okay? So at Fusion Power in 2023, non-reward accounts, meaning accounts that were solar only, had a cancellation rate of 36%. Reward accounts that had a reward attached to them, only had a 17% cancellation rate. So less than half of our jobs sold with rewards canceled in comparison to those that didn't. Just so you know your own stats here, Kaden, you've done 36 accounts with us in the 4 months that you've been with us. Only 7 cancels so far. That's an 80% pull through. But the thing that's really cool, of the accounts where you have attached rewards, 0 of them have canceled. And so you're already really, really good as is with a 20% cancellation rate. But to be able to say, look, those accounts that I've added these extra value items, not a single person has backed out. Why do you think that these rewards have been so effective for you?
I think they're extremely effective because, first of all, the speed of time that they get done. Obviously, installation is a 4 to 6 week process. A month and a half is a long time for somebody to back out of something. It's a lot of time to think, right? It's not just a next day or the same week thing. So the speed of when these adders, whether it be insulation, aerosol, whatever it is that are done, most of my rewards have been done within a week of the job being sold and documents being submitted. So I think, for one, the speed, but then two, also that does build trust in the company, how fast we're getting to the homeowner and how fast we're getting those things done. But then I think also it latches them on to keep the installation schedule, because work's already been performed on their home.
100%.
So it's not something like they're going to back out of after somebody's already done work on their home, because there is an emotional standpoint to that as well. We've already performed work on their home. They feel like a little bit of an emotional, perspective back to us to allow us to move forward with the installation.
Can you tell me, how do you bring up these reward options during the sale? Can you just kind of role play that with me a little bit? I'm your customer. How do you bring it up so that this is something that I'm excited about, or how do you introduce it so that this is just something that I go along with?
Anyone in particular, or just any of them?
Let's do insulation.
Okay. For insulation,
What's your favorite one? You can do whichever one you like.
insulation's probably my favorite.
Okay, cool. Let's go with that then.
Because it's a no-brainer. Just makes the home more energy efficient. So usually how I like to bring it up with the homeowner is after we've gone over design.
Okay.
They've seen the design, they've chose where they want the panels to go, or they've given me, the green light on the design. From there, I usually say, hey, Something really cool that Fusion Power has started doing here recently is just adding insulation in as part of our jobs. One, it kind of turns your home into a cooler during the summer months, keeps things cooler without having to jack your AC up. Two, it keeps things condensed for you during the winter months, not having to run a ton of heat. And then lastly, just makes your home overall 10 times more energy efficient. It's not an added cost to you. The reason it's not an added cost is if we do insulation, we don't have to install as many panels. So for example, if we're installing 30 panels, but we do the insulation, we may only need to install, 27, 28 panels. So it's not necessarily an added cost, but it's already baked in for you. We can usually have it done within, a week, 10 days from now.
Okay, perfect. So the elements of that are so cool is it's just included, right? Mm-hmm. Customers love to hear that things are included. And if they've ever looked at insulation, it's like, I know I need it, but I really don't want to spend $3,000 on it, right? So when you can tell them that this is included, bingo, that's a huge selling point. And then be able to say, and it's not an added cost for you as well, because I don't have to sell you as much solar. The contract's not going to be as expensive as it would otherwise have to be, right? So right. You're nailing those two things. So there's no reason for the customer not to be like, oh, well, that's cool, great, right? I think a lot of reps somehow get kind of shy about it, where they're like, well, I'm adding more to the contract price. It's going to make the monthly go up, and the customer's going to balk at it. It's like, no, you just present it as this is something that's just included, and it doesn't cost you anything extra.
Right.
So huge.
Yeah, a little pointer there, because we obviously have our rewards formed, but again, another go-to liner there is just, hey, we have to have some sort of documentation to engage in work as far as the installation goes. So that's all this form is, because sometimes they'll see the cost and all that kind of stuff on there. It's just documentation that we need.
This is how much you'd pay if it wasn't given to you as a reward, right?
Right.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that's I think that's super, super helpful. We've been focusing huge with our sales force over the last couple months of really pushing these rewards, and it's going to be a major, major push in 2024. We want to be able to have almost 100% adoption rate. If we can get everybody's cancellation rates down and cut in half like we showed here, boy, does that make everybody's life a lot easier, right? We got everybody making more money. Their psychology's way up. They just produce more. It lifts things all around. Knowing what your results have been at this point, and seeing that you don't have any cancels for any of your reward attached accounts. Do you see any reason why not to be adding rewards to any account moving forward?
No, not at all. It adds more value to the homeowner. It adds more value to the company, that we can do more than just their solar install. It adds more value to you as the rep as well, because you're coming in with multiple cards instead of just the solar, right? And then it makes the process more seamless. And then it obviously, retention numbers are higher, which nobody's gonna not want. For sure. Well, cool. I appreciate all of your insights on this. Last question today, and then we'll wrap it up here. Have you started thinking about your goals for 2024? And if so, what are your goals for the year? From like an install number.
If you have that number, yeah. Where you're going? You're putting this out to the universe goals. Here. This is anybody that sees this is going to have to hold you. You're going to have to be accountable to.
You're asking me on December 1st instead of January 1st. No, overall goals. Obviously, I want to continue pushing the volume I am, but to be honest, I haven't thought about exact numbers from a number standpoint, goal wise. But I want to keep my cancellation percentage for sure. Speaking about rewards, above 75%. It's usually where I always like to keep it.
Good.
So we'll keep doing that. My number every single week. I was raised, always taught to just hit your daily singles, and don't always go for these huge numbers every day. Just hit your daily singles, and they add up.
Yep.
At the end of the week. So my weekly number is always 5, one a day. Just hit your daily singles, and they add up at the end of the week. So obviously that'll continue to be my goal, is just go out and get one a day. Sometimes you'll pop in 2 or 3, 4 a day. It happens, but just go out there and get one a day, and you'll be surprised when at the end of the week you tally it all up, or at the end of the month you tally it all up. I honestly didn't even know, stats there, because it's just one at a time.
Yep. Consistent with it. Well, you mentioned at the start, you said, you talked about your why that drives you. Would you be willing to share with us what is Caden's why?
Yeah, I'll get back to you on some specific goals. But I can answer that one. That one's easy. Just recently, it's my why's increased a little bit, but it's always been that. We just had our first little boy 2.5 months ago.
Little Brooks.
Yeah, little Brooks. And it's been awesome. But when I wake up in the morning and see him, when I go to bed at night and see him, when I come home from an appointment and see him, and my wife, that's always been my why from even before I was married and had any kids. Was, hey, you do what you need to do to go out there and be able to provide the lifestyle that you want to be able to provide for your family, for your wife and your kids. And since I've had him, it's increased to you're now setting an example.
Yeah.
For the kind of person you want your son to grow up and be, from a work ethic standpoint to an integrity standpoint, to just every domino effect, just everything down the line. So my overall why is just I want to be able to continue to provide the lifestyle for my wife and Brooks and for more kids that we bring into this world. Because I know my parents did that for me. I had a great upbringing and was always provided with great opportunities. And I don't ever want to get in the way of opportunities that my family could have or my kids could have. So at the end of the day, it's my family, and that's what makes, all the way back to the beginning, dealing with people and personalities and frustrating conversations, frustrating phone calls, worth it, because you go home at night and you're with them or you see them, and it's easy.
Amen. Kaden, thank you for being with us on the podcast today. I appreciate your insight. And for all of you hearing this, new reps and even experienced reps, please make sure that you take a look at your cancellations. Take a look at these mechanisms to preempt those in your presentations, and use rewards as a way to reduce those cancellations, giving your customers more value, making them more excited about the product that they're going to get, increase your pull-through, and be able to give you what it is that you're seeking to accomplish here at Fusion Power. Appreciate everybody listening today. We will see you next time on the Fusion Power Podcast.